Drinking alcohol, smoking, and drug use are harmful to health.
In the leafy suburb of Westfield, New Jersey, where maple trees arched over quiet streets like protective sentinels, the Broaddus family pulled up to 657 Boulevard in June of 2014. Derek and Maria had scrimped and saved for years, trading their cramped Hoboken apartment for this sprawling 6-bedroom colonial revival. It was the kind of house that whispered promises of barbecues on the manicured lawn, laughter echoing through the hallways, and lazy Sundays in the sun-dappled backyard. At $1.3 million, it was a stretch, but it felt like the culmination of everything they'd worked for. A fresh start for their 3 young children, Drew, 9 and wide-eyed with curiosity, Charlotte, 7, with her endless questions, and little Hannah, 4, who clutched her stuffed elephant like a talisman against the unknown. The house itself was a beauty, built in 1927, with gabled roofs, wraparound porches, and tall windows that caught the afternoon light like prisms. Its white clapboard siding gleamed under the summer sun, and the neighborhood, lined with similar grand homes, exuded an air of timeless serenity. Neighbors waved from their driveways, kids on bikes zipped past with carefree whoops, and the air smelled of fresh-cut grass and distant rain. Derek, a financial analyst with an easy smile and a penchant for dad jokes, unloaded the last box from the U-Haul, sweat beading on his forehead. "Home sweet home," he called to Maria, who was directing the movers with the precision of a general. Maria laughed, her dark hair tied back in a ponytail, her hands smudged with packing tape. She was the dreamer of the two, the one who'd fallen in love with the house during their first showing. "It's perfect, isn't it? The kids are going to run wild in that yard." She glanced at the towering oaks flanking the property, their branches intertwining like lovers' fingers. Boulevard was a street of old money and quiet routines, doctors, lawyers, families who'd lived here for generations. It felt safe, inviting, eternal. That first night, as the family collapsed into sleeping bags on the hardwood floors, the house settled around them with soft creaks and sighs. Wind rustled the leaves outside, and somewhere down the block, a dog barked lazily. Drew lay awake, staring at the ceiling fan's lazy spin, imagining adventures in the attic he'd claim as his fortress. Charlotte whispered ghost stories to Hannah until their mother shushed them, and Derek snored softly beside Maria, his arm draped over her waist. It was the sound of beginnings. 2 days later, the first letter arrived. It was slipped into the mailbox, a plain manila envelope, no stamp, no return address. Derek found it while sorting through the morning's junk mail, catalogs for lawnmowers, flyers for the local PTA. He tore it open absent-mindedly, expecting a welcome from a neighbor or a realtor's follow-up. Instead, the handwriting inside, blocky, deliberate, scrawled in black ink, made his stomach twist. "Dearest new neighbor at 657 Boulevard, allow us to welcome you to the house. How did you enjoy the welcoming? Do the workers inside the walls make you feel at home? Won't they be pleased when you inevitably join them? The workers were delighted the last time they permitted a family into their house. Even the workers have been observing you unpack all these items. You likely encountered your neighbor at 665. He is a decent young man. The workers have been occupied. Have they discovered what lies within the walls yet? Soon they will. Do you grasp that the house has been under my family's claim for decades and must be once more? It has been ages since the young blood stopped being young. I am glad to know your names now, and the name of the young blood you bring to the house. You certainly utter their names often. Who holds the keys to 657 Boulevard? The Watcher." Derek's hands shook as he reread it. the words smearing under the harsh kitchen light. Young blood, workers inside the walls. It sounded like the ramblings of a lunatic, a hoax from some idle kid. But there was something personal about it. The mention of the kids' names, the details of their move-in. Drew, Charlotte, Hannah. How could anyone know that so soon? He folded the letter and tucked it into his pocket, glancing out the window at the deserted street. No one there. Just the house next door at 665, where an elderly couple, the Woodsons, lived quietly with their grown son. Maria was in the living room, guiding the painters on final touches to the baseboards. "Hey, love," Derek said, faking a relaxed tone. Strange mail. Probably nothing. He handed her the letter, watching her face as she read it. Her brow creased, then relaxed. A prank? God, that's unsettling. Should we call the police? Nah, let's not overreact. It's probably some neighbor annoyed we bought the place. But as the day dragged on, the words ate at him. That night, he triple-checked the locks, new deadbolts they'd installed at closing, and stared into the backyard, where the pool glimmered under the motion sensor lights. Nothing. Just shadows gathering under the deck. The second letter arrived a week later, slipped into the mailbox during the day, while Maria was at the store with the kids. Derek was at work, crunching numbers in his Jersey City office, unaware until his phone pinged with Maria's text. Another one. This is messed up. He sped home, finding her pacing the kitchen, the envelope gripped in her fist like a toxic thing. She shoved it at him. The handwriting was identical, the tone sharper, dripping with taunting familiarity. Dearest new residents at 657 Boulevard, welcome once more to your new home. The workers are hard at work in the walls. They are thrilled with the young blood they've found in the house. You wouldn't comprehend that. All the houses on the street speak to me now. I see everything. Nudge is the one who murmurs to me from the house. He craves your young blood for the house. He is fascinated by your children. Drew, Charlotte, and Hannah. Oh, how the workers adore the children. Derek, tell them to guard the children and wait. Wait. The workers have been here since the house was built. They have lingered for decades. The house demands young blood. I am the watcher and have eyes everywhere. Derek felt the color drain from his face. Nudge? Who the hell was Nudge? And the fixation on the children. It was like a stalker marking its prey. Maria's eyes were bloodshot. She'd been crying. This isn't a prank, Derek. Someone's been spying on us. They know the kids' names. What if they get inside? He pulled her close, but his hug felt empty. We'll handle it. Tomorrow, we call the cops. And a private investigator. No more waiting. That night, they barely slept. The kids, picking up on the fear, huddled in the master bedroom on an air mattress, their small bodies warm and vulnerable against the cold grip of dread. Outside, Derek sat on the porch with a baseball bat across his lap, staring into the void. The streetlights cast long shadows that danced like fingers reaching for the house. He thought he saw movement, a flicker near the fence line, but when he shone his flashlight, it was just a raccoon scavenging in the bushes. The Westfield Police Department took the letters seriously enough to log them as harassment, but not enough to launch a full investigation. Could be a disgruntled seller's relative, Detective Harlan suggested. A grizzled veteran with coffee-stained teeth and a no-nonsense drawl. He dusted the envelopes for prints, none viable, and interviewed the neighbors. The Woodsons at 665 were polite, but distant. Old Mr. Woodson mentioned a family feud decades ago over the property line, but nothing that explained this. The couple across the street, the Langfords, reported seeing a white van idling on the block a few nights back, but no plates, no description. Kids these days, Harlan grunted. Or some nut job with too much time. Change your locks, get cameras. We'll keep an eye out. They did all that. Ring doorbells with floodlights, motion-activated cameras angled at every entry point, even a nanny cam in the kids' playroom. Derek hired a PI named Russo, a ex-cop with a buzz cut and a Rolodex of shady contacts. Russo combed through the house's history, built by a doctor in the 1920s, passed through 3 families, no murders, no scandals, but whispers from old real estate agents hinted at odd vibes. Buyers backing out at the last minute, citing unease. Houses like this, they hold on to things, Russo said one rainy afternoon, flipping through faded deeds in the kitchen. Grudges, ghosts of deals gone sour. Maria tried to hold it together for the kids. She enrolled them in the local school, hosted a playdate barbecue where neighborhood children swarmed the yard like locusts. But Drew started having nightmares, waking up screaming about eyes in the walls. Charlotte drew pictures of stick-figure families with shadowy figures lurking behind them, and Hannah refused to play upstairs alone, claiming she heard scratching from the vents. Derek worked late, poring over security feeds on his laptop, but the footage showed nothing, just wind-swayed branches, a stray cat prowling the garage. Then came the trespass. It was a Thursday in late July, humid air thick as molasses. Maria had taken the kids to the town pool, leaving Derek to handle a contractor fixing the leaky roof. He was in the attic, amid dusty trunks and cobwebbed beams, when his phone buzzed, the front door camera alert. He descended the pull-down stairs, heart thudding, and checked the app. The feed showed the porch empty, but the door ajar, just a crack, enough for a draft to whisper through. "Hello?" he called, gripping a hammer from the toolbox. No answer. He nudged the door wider with his foot, scanning the foyer. The air felt off, staler, like someone had exhaled into it. Footprints, muddy sneaker treads tracked across the Persian rug in the living room, leading to the kitchen and back out the sliding glass door to the deck. Derek followed them, pulse hammering in his ears. The prints were small, maybe a teenager's, smeared with red clay from the backyard flower beds. In the kitchen, a cabinet door hung open. A half-empty bag of coffee grounds spilled across the counter like dark blood. And on the fridge, magnetized in childish scrawl, on a notepad they'd left out for grocery lists. Young blood for the house. He retched into the sink, the hammer clattering to the floor. Russo arrived 20 minutes later, sirens wailing faintly in the distance as backup rolled up. They swept the house. No intruder, no forced entry points. The door had been jimmied with a slim tool, subtle enough to evade the casual eye. "Someone's been casing you," Russo muttered, bagging the notepad for prints. "This is escalation. We need to talk to every soul on this block." The interviews yielded fragments. The Woodson's son, John, a lanky 30-something with a patchy beard, and a job at the local hardware store, seemed evasive, claiming he'd been out of town. But a neighbor, Mrs. Granger from 661, whispered about that family next door, always staring at the house like it owes them something. Turns out the Woodsons had tried to buy 657 back in the 80s, but lost out to another bidder. Bad blood, perhaps? Derek pored over property records late into the night. Maria curled beside him, her breathing shallow. The kids slept with the lights on, doors barricaded with chairs. August brought heat waves and more letters. 4 in 2 weeks, each more unhinged. One arrived taped to the front door after a family dinner at the Italian place downtown. G7. Boulevard is anxious for you to move in. It has been years and years now since the young blood sat on its porches and walked its hallways. The house needs you. The workers need you. Nudge has been restless. He misses the children. Drew must not go upstairs alone. The workers watch him from the corners. Charlotte's laughter echoes in the dumbwaiter. Hannah's tears will fill the pool soon. Who has the keys? The watcher has eyes in the trees. We see you sleep. Derek nailed the windows shut, paranoia blooming like mold in the walls. He dreamed of footsteps padding overhead, of small hands pressing against the ceiling from above. Russo tailed John Woodson for days, snapping photos of him lingering near the property line, binoculars glinting in the dusk. But no proof, no confrontation. The police installed a stakeout van down the street, but the watcher went quiet. Too quiet. Then, the noises started. It began subtly, a faint scratching in the walls at night, like nails on plaster. Maria dismissed it as squirrels in the eaves, but Derek lay awake, ear pressed to the drywall, straining. Scratch, scratch, pause. Scratch, scratch, pause. Rhythmic, deliberate. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the rooms in bloody hues, Charlotte burst from the playroom screaming, "There's someone in the closet." Maria yanked the door open to find only toys scattered like battlefield casualties. But a child's sock, Hannah's, monogrammed with daisies, lay twisted on the floor, as if yanked off in a struggle. No one had been upstairs since lunch. That night, Derek armed himself with the bat and patrolled the house like a sentinel. The cameras captured anomalies. At 2:17 a.m., a shadow flitted across the backyard floodlight. Too tall for an animal, too fluid for wind. At 3:45, the kitchen cam picked up a faint click, the fridge door easing open on its own, a yogurt cup vanishing from the shelf. By morning, it reappeared in the upstairs bathroom sink, lid popped, contents curdled and swarming with ants. "We're leaving," Maria whispered over coffee, her voice cracking. The kids were at school, oblivious for now. "This isn't worth it. The house, it's poisoning us." Derek nodded, but selling felt like surrender. They'd sunk everything into it. Savings, dreams, their sanity. Russo suggested booby traps, legal ones, dye packs in the vents, hair-thin tripwires linked to alarms. But the trespasses persisted. Footprints in the attic dust, arranged in a crude circle. A child's drawing, stick figures with exit-out eyes, crammed into Drew's backpack, unsigned. September arrived with a chill that seeped into the bones. The family stopped unpacking, living out of boxes like squatters in their own home. Neighbors avoided eye contact, whispers trailing them at the grocery store. That house on Boulevard, cursed, they say. Derek confronted John Woodson one crisp afternoon, bat slung over his shoulder like a caveman's club. "You got something to say about my family?" John blinked, owl-like, from his porch rocker. "Me? Nah, man. Heard about the letters. Tough break. But that place, it's got history. My folks always said it watches back." History. Derek dove deeper, hiring a genealogist to trace the house's lineage. What emerged was a tapestry of quiet tragedies. The original owner's daughter vanished in 1930, presumed runaway but never found. A 1950s tenant's son, drowned in the pool during a storm. In 1983, a fire in the attic, arson, ruled accidental, claimed a visiting niece. No connections, but the pattern prickled. Young lives snuffed out, whispers of bad luck clinging like smoke. The fifth letter was the worst. Delivered via the mailbox during a PTA meeting Maria forced herself to attend. Derek found it on his drive home, the envelope heavier, stained with what looked like rust. Inside, not one sheet, but 3. Pages dense with ravings, the ink bleeding where tears or rain had smudged it. Dearest Derek and Maria, the house is displeased with your delay. The workers toil without rest, carving paths for the blood to flow. Nudge grows impatient. He paces the upper floors, his breath fogging the windows where Charlotte presses her face. Drew's footsteps thunder like warnings in the basement. Hannah's giggles summon them from the dumbwaiter. You cannot hide. The keys are mine. The locks bend to my will. I have walked your halls while you slumbered, tasted the salt of your fears. The young blood must renew the walls, or the house will devour you all. It hungers. Join the chorus in the eaves. The watcher sees the rot beneath your smiles. Boulevard knows your secrets. Who are you to deny the legacy? Attached was a Polaroid, grainy, time-stamped 11:49 p.m. the night before. It showed the family asleep in the master bed. Derek on his back, mouth agape. Maria curled fetal, the kids piled at the foot like discarded dolls. Taken from the closet doorway, the angle intimate, invasive. Derek's scream echoed through the empty house, raw and animal. The police swarmed then, fingerprints lifting a partial from the photo's edge, belonging to no one in the system. Russo's tale on John intensified, caught him slipping a key under the loose fence slat one dawn, but it was a spare for his own shed, he claimed. Paranoia fractured the family. Drew wet the bed for the first time in years, blaming the man in the walls. Charlotte barricaded her door with encyclopedias, whispering to invisible friends about escape plans. Hannah stopped speaking altogether, her eyes hollow, clutching that damn elephant until its fur matted with tears. October's leaves turned the yard to fire, but inside, the air grew stagnant, thick with unspoken dread. Derek installed steel bars on the windows, turning their dream into a fortress prison. Nights blurred into vigils. Russo bunking in the guest room with a shotgun, police cruisers circling like sharks. Yet the scratching persisted. Now from the ceiling, a Morse code of malice. One midnight, it crescendoed into thuds, as if furniture dragged overhead. Derek bolted upstairs, bat raised, to find the attic door yawning open. Inside, chaos. Trunks overturned, insulation shredded like confetti, and in the center, a crude altar. Candles guttered out, circled by family photos pilfered from the mantel. Atop it, a lock of Hannah's hair, tied with twine. Maria broke then, packing suitcases in a frenzy. We're going to my sister's, now. But as they loaded the car, tires crunching gravel, another envelope fluttered from the mailbox like a dying bird. Derek snatched it, ripping it open under the sodium street lamp. You cannot flee the house. It owns you. The workers follow in the floorboards. Nudge rides with Drew in the back seat. The blood will spill on Boulevard, one way or another. Return, or the watching ends in fire. The Watcher. They fled anyway, to a sterile hotel in Springfield, rooms smelling of bleach and anonymity. The kids perked up amid room service and cable TV. But Derek and Maria lay awake, scrolling Zillow for rentals, the house haunting their search history. Selling it became an obsession. Price slashed to $1.1 million, then $950,000. Open houses drew gawkers, but offers evaporated after tours. Felt watched, one couple muttered. Heard whispers, another confessed. Russo uncovered a lead in November. The original owner's brother, a recluse named Elias Grange, who'd lived in the carriage house out back until his death in 1965. No children, but diaries unearthed from the county archives raved of the property's guardian, a spectral enforcer against trespassers on sacred ground. Grange had scrawled of workers entombed in the foundation during construction, immigrant laborers bricked up alive for stability's sake, their ghosts bound to the mortar. Folklore or fact? The town elders stonewalled, but a faded news clipping confirmed a 1927 strike, workers vanishing overnight. Emboldened, Derek returned alone one blustery afternoon, sledgehammer in hand. He tore into the basement walls, plaster dust choking the air, seeking bones or truth. Splinters yielded nothing but lath and wire, until a hollow thunk echoed from behind the furnace. There, in a crawl space sealed with fresh mortar, still damp, he pried loose a tin box. Inside, yellowed letters, identical handwriting to the watchers, dated 1927. The house demands tribute. The young must sate the stones. And a photo. Elias Grange, stern-faced, beside a gaggle of wide-eyed boys. His nephews? Their eyes scratched out. Elation surged, proof at last. But as dusk fell, shadows lengthened unnaturally. Derek pocketed the box and fled upstairs, only to find the front door chained from inside. Footsteps, soft, padding, descended the stairs. He backed into the kitchen, bat trembling, as a figure emerged from the pantry. Not John Woodson, not a stranger, but a silhouette blurred by vertigo, whispering, "The keys are home." He smashed a window, glass shattering like brittle bones, and tumbled into the night. Russo met him at the curb, face ashen. Checked the tapes. No one in or out, but the cameras. They show you Derek, entering alone, leaving alone, but in between. He trailed off, handing over a still. Derek in the basement, sledge raised, but duplicated. Two of him, one hammering, the other watching from the shadows, smiling. The family never returned. The house sold in 2017 for a pittance to renters who gutted it, exorcising the demons with drywall and doubt. But Derek still wakes to scratching, feels eyes on his nape in crowded rooms. Maria homeschools the kids, trusts no mail. Drew, now a teen, pores over architecture books, vowing never to own. Charlotte writes horror stories, her pen scratching like nails on wood. Hannah, silent still, draws endless eyes, watching, waiting. And on quiet nights in Westfield, when Boulevard slumbers under starless skies, envelopes appear in empty mailboxes, unsigned, unstamped, welcoming the new blood home. The house remembers. The watcher endures.